Hello everybody, we've got a new DevBlog from the Old School RuneScape team. This is the near miss poll. So, since the start of Old School, they've polled a lot of potential updates, many of which did not make it into the game. They've gone through all the previously rejected content updates and have picked a few where they feel they can improve what's been offered before, based upon our feedback, in order to offer something that many of the community might want to see in game. So we're starting off with Clan Wars game modes and tweaks. They've got a couple of new game modes as well as some small tweaks to Clan Wars to offer in the near miss poll. They feel that the game modes may not have passed due to the community not fully understanding what they were, and they want to go into some detail here in order to make sure that it isn't a factor in the near miss poll. So let's have a look at some of these game modes. We're starting off with Timed Deathmatch. In a Timed Deathmatch Clan War, the clan that gets the most kills in a set period of time wins. The amount of time will be selected by the two players starting the war. So they'll be asking the question, should they introduce a new Clan Wars game mode called Time Deathmatch? Clans could choose a set amount of time and the team with the most kills by the end would win. Next, Team Odd Skull. In a Team Odd Skull Clan War, a skull spawns in the middle of the map at the start of the war. Picking up and holding the skull gains your clan points. The opposing team must kill the player carrying the skull in order to claim it themselves and gain points. The team with the most points at the end of the war will win. So they'll be asking, should they introduce a new Clan Wars game mode called Team Odd Skull? Clans will compete to hold a skull for the longest, killing each other to get possession of the skull. The clan that holds the skull for the most time wins. And finally, the Clan Wars Classic tweaks. The Clan Wars Classic map, while reminiscent of the original, does not play exactly as it should. They've received feedback from clans and would like to make a few changes to the map in order to make it play more similar to how it originally did. So the following tweaks will be made. Allow maging and ranging over the walls, and shorten the distance between parallel walls closer to the original 10 tiles. So the question will be, should they make some small changes to the Clan Wars Classic map to make it play more like the original? Next, the wilderness related changes. First of all, the wilderness boss pets. When originally polled, many of the pets only just passed. The community weren't all convinced that they would be a good addition to Old School. Now that pets have been introduced into the game and have been a huge success with many players striving to get them, they feel the community have a better idea of the impact pets have. For this reason, they'll be offering to introduce the wilderness boss pets once more. So the questions will be, should the wilderness bosses drop very rare pets of themselves? And should they add a very rare Scorpia pet to the Scorpia drop table? Now, I think I originally voted no against the loss of the wilderness boss pets because I didn't like the way they looked. However, if they had a nice looking pet, I wouldn't mind them having that in game. Next, replacing the wilderness ditch. The wilderness ditch is something that many players would rather not be there. While a useful tool against luring and players accidentally entering the wilderness, they feel that they can accomplish the same protection with a much less intrusive barrier to the wilderness. If the replacing of the wilderness ditch passed a poll, they'll put a less intrusive or potentially invisible barrier in the same place. This barrier would interrupt you as you attempt to walk into the wilderness, warning players and requiring them to acknowledge the risk of entering the wilderness. It will be possible to disable this message if you are a player that regularly visits the wilderness. Making this change allows them to remove the lengthy animation of hopping the ditch. It also allows players that are regularly out in the wilderness to run straight into the wilderness without needing to use the jump over option on the ditch. So the question will be, should they replace the wilderness ditch with a less intrusive barrier that offers the same level of protection against luring? Players will be given a warning when attempting to run past the barrier. This warning will be toggleable. Now I remember I originally voted no because I was doing lots of rune crafting back then, and I thought that it helped me do it. After that I started to think, oh, maybe it would be easier if I just didn't have to click on this. But now I'm a little unsure. I'm kind of attached to the ditch, but also I understand why people don't like it, so when it comes to the poll I'm a little unsure where I'll vote now. Next, Teleblock in free-to-play. With the upcoming release of permanent free-to-play, they feel that it's a significant enough change to offer changing Teleblock to become available to free-to-play players once again. So the question will be, should Teleblock be made usable by free-to-play players? Now I can't remember what I originally voted on that. It might have been when they were polling some sort of lower level member items such as Splitbark to be free to play. And I didn't really like the idea of introducing these members items to the free players. And I think something similar right now. Free to play PKing is very much raw. You don't have a lot of high damage things. It's just rune and your sort of basic items. Introducing things like Teleblock and all these high level spells is just going to make it a lot harder. However, I believe Teleblock was available on free to play for a while in RS3, so I don't know what the community will think. Next, dropping items in the wilderness. When items are dropped in the wilderness, they currently take the usual minute to appear to other players. This often leads to situations where people are about to die will drop their items and run back to pick them up in order to grief players killing them. They would like to offer a change to dropping items in the wilderness and PvP worlds where the items appear instantaneously. This will prevent the above from happening. When they polled this previously, they did not explain the motivation for offering the change. This time, they will include some information in the question to make sure that the community are more aware of the purpose of the change. So the question will be, should items dropped inside the wilderness and PvP worlds appear instantly? This will prevent players griefing PKers by dropping items. Now, I don't really like the way that they've used griefing PKers. A lot of the time, especially when I've been runecrafting, because I quite like runecrafting, and someone's trying to PK me, I felt that they're trying to grief me. So I don't want to lose my items, so what I might try and do is drop them. Now, usually, even if I manage to run back after dropping the item, they usually end up freezing me, and I forget to bring a telegrab, and I end up losing the item anyway. But a lot of the time, when a player is dropping their item, it's because they're just trying to skill, and they're being griefed by these PKs. However, I do understand that if there are two players that are fighting each other, and one drops all their items so the other one cannot get them, that would definitely be considered griefing. It's kind of similar to how people just use a crystal bow. Now, I would support this if they changed the question to be, should items dropped inside the wilderness and PvP worlds appear instantaneously if it's dropped by someone in combat? Basically, if I'm fighting you and you drop an item, I can see it instantaneously, but someone else cannot. Next, everything else. Public chat filtering. They recently offered the ability to filter chat above the heads of players so you can only see messages including certain words or phrases. This did not pass the poll, however they received a lot of feedback saying it was likely due to the wording of the question. They'll be offering this again with a clearer description of what the change would mean. So the question will be, should they allow players to hide messages from above the heads of other players unless they contain chosen words? This will work in the same way that you're currently able to filter auto chat and would make it easier to find people buying or selling what you're looking for. Now, I feel they're polling this quite quickly after it just failed. However, I do think it's a good update, and it will definitely help lower the amount of spam you see when you go into places like Varrock. However, seeing as we're getting the Grand Exchange at the end of the week, I cannot imagine so much spam happening because a lot of people will just be defecting to the Grand Exchange. Either way, I think it will be quite a good update. Next, skipping dialogue with the spacebar. They've had a lot of people requesting that they offer this once again. They are yet to see anyone voicing concerns about the change, despite it failing last time it was polled. This leads them to believe that it may have failed due to players misunderstanding the question. They've reworded the question to be slightly clearer when describing what this change would mean. So the question will be, should we be able to press the spacebar to continue through NPC dialogue and use number keys to select from options that appear in the chat box? I think last time I voted yes on that. I quite liked it in RuneScape 3. However, sometimes I think, what's the point in having the numbers? I used to always click them anyway, even if I was just spamming space. However, a lot of the time I actually kind of like to read what they're saying. It just adds a bit more to, usually when you're doing a quest, it just adds a bit more. Next, God Sword Accurate Attack Style Change. The accurate attack style of the God Swords is currently a crush attack. Many players have asked for this change to a slash, as God Swords have 132 slash attack bonus compared to an 80 crush attack. Last time they polled this, they did not provide information on the stats of the weapon, and they would like to offer it once more with a slightly more detailed question. Should they change the accurate attack style of the God Sword to slash from crush? God Swords have a slash attack of plus 132 compared to the crush attack bonus of plus 80. Now, I can't remember what I voted on last time when this was polled, but having a quick look at God Swords on the RuneScape wiki makes me think, why are they polling this? It looks like you can already use a slash attack, and you can already use the crush attack, so I don't know why they want to poll this. Next, the Ring of Recoil breaking. This question is not a repoll, but something that they would like to get done soon. They would like to change the message that appears in the chat box when a Ring of Recoil breaks to make it stand out a little more. So the question will be, should the message that appears in your chat box when a Ring of Recoil breaks be changed to make it more noticeable? Now, I think this is quite a good idea, and I know that even a few people have suggested actually physically being able to break your Ring of Recoil, because if it's got, say, 1 damage or 5 damage in it, and they just want to break it so they can put on a new one that's nice and fresh. Next, the Super Combat Potion Sharing. Sharing Super Combat Potions using the Lunar Spell boost Potion Share is currently not possible. When they previously polled it, it did not pass. However, they believe that it may have been due to a lack of detail on what Boost Potion Share spell does. So, the question will be, should it be made possible to share Super Combat Potions using the Lunar Spell Boost Potion Share? Using this spell consumes 1 dose for each person that receives the boost. Now I think I was originally opposed to this, but now in my head I'm thinking, why not? They're going to have to cast a spell, so they're going to have runes, and they have to have the amount of potions or doses per potion. It may save one person from having to carry a super combat potion, whereas the other one's going to have to carry more super combat potions, and they're going to have the spell runes. So I'll probably end up voting yes on that. And next, the increasing poll restrictions. During the poll they held a while back, they offered replacing the 280 total level restriction with a requirement of having played Old School for 25 hours. They would like to offer this increased poll requirement alongside a slightly increased total level requirement rather than having one replace the other. So the question will be, should the requirement to vote in content polls be increased from 280 total level to 300 total level and at least 25 hours played? For this to work, they'll have to remove the ability to vote through the website. Now I'm unsure where I'm going to go in this. I can't really remember what I said last time. Having 300 total levels, not too much more than 280, so I can't really imagine that being such of a big issue. And getting 300 total level is probably going to take you at least 25 hours, so I don't think that's going to affect the game too much. However, removing the ability to vote through the website, I'm not really a fan of. I always vote in game at the moment. However, I do like being able to check the website for the votes. So if they removed voting from the website, I wouldn't mind too much as long as we can still check the polls and the votes on the website. And finally, additional Grand Exchange tweaks. They're aiming to have the Grand Exchange out by the end of February. As such, they've limited the time dedicated to polls to additional Grand Exchange content. They are including a couple of Grand Exchange options that have not been polled previously, so they can keep on pace with the development of the system. So, Grand Exchange questions will be, should they add a button to the main offer screen of the Grand Exchange that allows you to collect all unclaimed items in a single click? Now I'm not exactly sure what that means, so I'm not too sure where I'll be voting on that. Perhaps they need to go into more detail with that question. And should they add a button to the worn equipment screen that allows you to price check your items? It would be placed between the existing equipment stats and items kept on def buttons. Now I like that feature. I remember that being in the old RuneScape in RuneScape 3, and I thought it was quite good. However, it was a bit strange having the button there, and I think they moved it to the price or the money pouch later on. Anyway, I think this poll is going to be quite good. I was a bit worried that some of the things they were repolling were going to be stuff that I really hated, but the majority of this stuff I think I quite like them repolling, and I'm not really a fan of a lot of repolls, but these were ones that definitely got close and definitely had a lot of ambiguity or something that people were unsure about. So I can't wait to vote in that. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and share, and if you want to keep up to date with the Old School RuneScape updates, dev blogs and polls, please subscribe. I've been Lewis, thanks for watching, goodbye.